Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Christ, the Conqueror of Hell by Alfeyev, published in 2009. We're going to continue looking at the patristic tradition. We're going to look at pages 54 to 64, and we're going to look at the patristic tradition in the 4th century, mid-4th and 4th century. And that was a time when the Eastern Orthodox faith flourished. Let's go to block 1 and take a look at testimony from the mid-4th century. We begin with the hymns of Saint Ephrem the Syriac, dated 306 to 373 AD. And we read, "And his light made haste to rise in Hades. And Hades was perturbed when the Lord went down into it, for he had power over all creation. He saved those who were in that region. He made himself master over all of it. His spirit set free the souls that were in Hades." And then continuing along with Ephrem, in note 2, the continuation, "Death fell down at the feet of Christ, and the devil became captive. Christ made Hades to quake. The Lord cried out to all souls, 'Come forth, all who are bound in fetters. On you has the light arisen.'" And then we take a look at Eusebius of Caesarea, 314 AD. "Christ humbled himself, was crucified, and died, and descended into Hades, and burst the bars that had not been broken, and raised the dead. He descended alone, but arose with many, then ascended to his Father." So there's testimony from Ephrem of Syria and Eusebius of Caesarea. And now we move over to block 2 and we take a look at Gregory, the Archbishop of Constantinople. He was known as Gregory the Theologian, a very prominent archbishop, because in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, the Archbishop of Constantinople was their most important theological post. He was like the Bishop of Bishops, known as Gregory Nazianzen, or Gregory the Theologian. So block 2, we read note 1. He was the Archbishop of Constantinople. He wrote Discourse 45. The text, "Today salvation comes unto the world, to the visible and the invisible. Christ is risen from the dead. Rise ye with him. Christ is freed from the tomb. The gates of hell are opened. Death is destroyed. The old Adam is put aside. The old Adam is put aside. The new is fulfilled." Now, Gregory the Theologian continues, "If he descends into hell, descend with him." Why? "To know the mystery of Christ there also, which is to save humanity, by his manifestation, of all those that believe." And he uses the Greek concept Katabasis, to descend. It's kata, down, plus bino, go, which is twofold. To descend, first, it means the incarnation. Second, it means the descent into Hades. So the Greek concept for the descent is katabasis, the going down to humanity as incarnate, and then descending into Hades. Twofold Katabasis. Let's take a look at Block 2, Note 3. Christ dissipated the sting of death. He destroyed the gates of Hades. He gave freedom to the souls. Today, having risen from the tomb, he appeared to the people in order that we, being regenerated and having escaped death, ascend unto heaven with him. And that is Paul all the way, because as the liberated, we are en Christos, we are in Christ. If we are in Christ, then yes, we do ascend with him. So that is Paul theology completely. But it is a result of Katabasis, Christ descending into Hades, first descending and becoming incarnate, then descending even into Hades, to liberate those who are in Christ. Now, Block 3, we're going to look at the three stages of testimony, because this 4th century teaching in the Eastern Orthodox tradition was all about testimony, interpretive theology, and a very hopeful eschatology. So Block 3, Note 1, testimony of Gregory on the suffering of Christ. He has the Mother Mary addressing Christ. You descend, O beloved child, into the abodes of Hades, to hide yourself where you choose, into the darkest cave of Hades. You introduce to Hades the bitter sting. You descend to the gates of darkness and illuminate the entire human race, and raise Adam, the father of the mortals. Now, the theology of Gregory. The light of one sun is sufficient for Christ in order to annihilate the abodes of Hades and return to earth, having quenched the pain of mortals. It is for this reason, having put on poor clothing, you descended into Hades, having slain the gatekeepers, that everybody should recognize him. And this liberation results in an eschatology of Amphilichius of Iconium, bishop of the Iconium church. Again, 4th century bishop. Christ appeared in Hades, destroyed the graves and emptied the tombs, by invisibly granting resurrection. All were released, freedom was announced. All ran after him, the light shone, and darkness faded away. The light shone and darkness faded away. So, Professor Alfeyev tells us that the 4th century was the time, the 300s AD was the time when the Eastern Orthodox Church flourished, when Constantinople became an important, centrally important church in the Eastern faith, in all of the Eastern faith, in all of the Eastern churches. And so all this testimony from the 4th century is important for understanding the early church doctrine of the Eastern Orthodox Church as it emerged in the 300s. And there was a great emphasis, says Alfeyev, on the descent into Hades by Christ. That was a prominent doctrine. It was part of the doctrine of redemption. Remember the last lesson. It was expounded within the context of the doctrine of redemption. So salvation was supported by and testified by the descent of Christ into Hades. And so that's why last lesson, this lesson, and the next lesson give a great deal of attention to 4th century testimony by prominent figures in the Eastern Orthodox faith. So as a quick recap, let's see what we'll take from block 1. From block 1, let's go to note 3 and take a look at Eusebius of Caesarea, dated 314 AD, 4th century. Christ humbled himself, was crucified and died, and descended into Hades, and burst the bars that had not been broken, and raised the dead. He descended alone, but he arose with many. Then he ascended to his Father. That is a picture, a testimony of the death, descending, and resurrection and ascending of Christ. All of it is articulated together. Death, then descending, then resurrecting, then ascending. All 4 moments together. So that's an important one for block 1. Block 2, let's take a look at that concept of Katabasis, okay? Let's go to note 2 because we break it down there. If he descends into hell, descend with him, to know the mystery of Christ there also, which was to save humanity, by his manifestation, to them and of them that believe. It's all about katabasis, to descend. From kata, down, bino, go, which is twofold. First, Christ descended to become incarnate. Remember Philippians 2, he kenosis emptied himself. So the first descending was into the incarnation. Second, the descent into Hades. So let's take that as a recap from block 2. I love learning a new Greek concept in the New Testament, and so this time it's the Greek concept of katabasis, and that is the Greek concept for to descend. Now for recap in block 3, I think we'll go to eschatology 3:3. Amphilichius of Iconium, the bishop of Iconium. Christ appeared in Hades, destroyed the graves, emptied the tombs, by invisibly granting resurrection. All were raised. All were raised. Freedom was announced. All ran after him. The light shone, and darkness faded away. Beautiful testimony here from the 4th century. That's going to wrap up pages 54 to 64. And next time, it'll be just 10 pages. We will take on 64 to 74, okay? So that's going to wrap up this section on 4th century testimony, pages 54 to 64.